Today we're looking at the Bolts based on the 1980 San Diego Chargers. The Bolts feature an Air Coryell passing attack on offense and an average 4-3 defense. Their passing attack is very powerful because they feature Dan Fouts at quarterback, Charlie Joyner at wide receiver, Kellen Winslow at tight end, and many others. They have two special rules. One is shock and awe, which actually creates random turnovers against the Bolts, but that's how they power up their Supercharger, which is their other special rule that actually gives them special abilities they can use in-game. The Bolts feature three formations on offense. Ace Big is their run-heavy formation, Pro Set is their balanced formation, and Spread is their pass-heavy. On defense, the Bolts only have 8 cards because they only have two formations. 4-3 is their run heavy, and nickel is their balanced. The Bolts do not have a pass heavy formation. The Bolts are notorious for poor ball security. Their offense will regularly commit turnovers, at least one or two a game, from sheer carelessness, and that's where we come with the shock and awe special rule. The Bolts shock and awe might look confusing, but it's actually very simple. Anytime a defensive game day card with red text matches the play type that they've called, they have an opportunity to turn the ball over. You'll actually draw a second game day card when that match occurs, and if that second card has red text, it's a turnover. Let's pick up the action in the first quarter. The Bolts have the ball 1st and 4 at their own 30, and they've come out with Pro Set against 4-3. The matchup is a power run versus a goal line. So right now this is actually a loss of 1 for the Bolts. The game day card comes out and it is hot pursuit. This is even worse. Right now it's -2, so the total is actually a -3. This is a terrible circumstance for the Bolts, and what makes it worse is it actually triggers their shock and awe mechanism, which means that when you have matched a defensive game day card with the play type, so they have a run play and a defensive run game day card, this actually triggers the need to pull a second game day card. If this one is red text, it is a turnover, and it sure is. As you can see, this is a defense pass. The play event doesn't matter. What we're looking for is the fact that it is a defensive card with red text. That means that now it is a turnover, and the Bolts have turned the ball over, and the opponent has the ball at the 15. Now, as a result of that, the Bolts will earn one of their Supercharger tokens. So when they turn the ball over, they get one of these. And what's interesting about the Supercharger is that it refreshes every drive. So the act of turning the ball over actually powers up their offense. Let's fast forward in the action. The Bolts are now down 7-0. It's still middle first quarter, and they've got the ball 2nd and 2 at their own 40. They've come out with a spread versus dime, and as we can see, the spread play is a long pass, and the dime coverage is a zone. No breakaway here, but 9 on 5 will be a gain of 4, but we need green text in order for this to be complete. So we pull the game day card, and it is a defense pass card, so this is overthrown, play equals 0, but unfortunately, because the Bolts have shock and awe, because they have matched a pass play with a defensive pass game day card, this is another opportunity for a turnover. The Bolts don't have to take this opportunity, though. They can choose to pull a second game day card, see if it's red text. If it is, it's an interception. Or they could simply use their challenge flag to negate the first play. So this defensive pass game day card now does not occur. And so as a result, they'll have to take an incompletion because this is a low accuracy pass. It would have been incomplete anyway, but at least this way, by using the challenge flag, they have removed the need to pull a second game day card to potentially turn the ball over. So this is one way that the Bolts can hedge against their propensity to turn the ball over. Fast forward now to the second quarter. We see that the Bolts are down 10-3 to the Fire, but they have earned both of their Supercharger tokens. They've turned the ball over twice, and so now they have both Supercharger tokens. So let's take a look at how the Supercharger works. When the Bolts turn the ball over, they earn a charge with a maximum of 2 charges, and these charges refresh at the beginning of every drive. The tokens can be spent on one of two things. They can spend one token on a pre-snap read, or they can spend two tokens on light 'em up. The Bolts have the ball first and 4 from the 40, and they come out in a pro set. They're going to go long pass versus man to man. So this is an 8 on 2. Right now it is a gain of 6, and it needs green text in order to be complete. So we'll pull the game day card and we'll see that it is green text. That's a +1. So right now this is 6 plus 1 is 7. That actually gets us all the way down to the 5. The Bolts can simply spend 2 tokens to add 4 to this pass play. So they'll take both of these tokens and spend them, and that will add the additional yardage needed to score that touchdown. What makes this really effective is that the Bolts are incentivized to spend that because at the beginning of their next drive, they simply get those charges back. That battery charges up again, allowing them to either use light 'em up or pre-snap read. Let's pick up the action now in the third quarter. The game is tied at 10 and it's second down and 5 from the 45. The Bolts have the ball and they are calling pro set versus nickel. In this particular instance, they are going to want to use their pre-snap read, which only costs 1 token. The pre-snap read allows them to lock the defense and ask the defense if their defense is a blitz. If it is a blitz, they need to reveal that. So we're going to spend this 1 and say, hey, defense, do you have a blitz called? And in this particular instance, they do. So they have to flip it over and reveal that it is a blitz. So let's see what they would have called. Right now they've got an outside run, which will give them 2. However, if they go with the slant, they'll actually have a breakaway, which gives them an opportunity to get a bigger play. So they're going to go ahead and rotate the card and call the guaranteed breakaway. And in this case, it would have been an incomplete pass, but we're going to take the 1 in the corner. So this is a minimum gain of 1 plus 1. So they've already gotten 2. And now they can start flipping more game day cards and see what they can chain together. That is a tackle, but that play guarantees that they were able to get breakaway. It is now third down. What's exciting is that if the Bolts have both of their challenge flags burned, this is a great way to refresh a challenge flag. If you can catch them in a blitz and actually anticipate that, you can actually get that challenge flag back. So the pre-snap read is really helpful. Here it is on 3rd and 3, and they're going to use that same pre-snap read again. They've got a spread versus nickel, and they're going to go ahead and spend that token and say, hey, defense, are you blitzing? Well, sure enough, they are blitzing again, and so let's take a look at what the call is. So the Bolts had called a medium pass. This would be a defensive breakaway. They do not want that. So because they did the pre-snap read, they can actually change the call to that short pass, which again creates an offensive breakaway. Still only a gain of 1, but at least they were able to get out of a bad call. And let's see what happens. And here in the upper corner, they have a touchdown. So that is a situation where this short pass ends up stretching for 35 yards and creating a big play touchdown. The Bolts' passing attack is powerful because they can prevent themselves from getting in bad situations. Unfortunately, the shock and awe does open up the possibility for them to create more turnovers for themselves than other teams do, but the Supercharger allows them to recover from it very well. You're actually going to find yourself not worrying too much about turnovers, certainly in those first 2, because it actually makes your offense better. So lean into it, throw a lot. The Bolts are a lot of fun to play.